Guys, we can start. There is someone missing here, but still a good number. Welcome back to the 5th event of the Stardust Startup Program. We already see the end of the program, but of course, it's just the beginning, just a step that you are going to make. And today, we have some mentors here again. You already know them quite well. And we are going to talk about negotiation. Going to start with, yeah. And then something more about market and stakeholders, stuff like that. And for the people who don't know yet what Stardust is about and why we're here today, the goal of our organization is to promote entrepreneurship in DTU. And we are just students that run this organization. Of course, it's a no-profit one. But so we have open events, usually in glass ceiling, next to the canteen. For everybody who is interested, we're going to keep going with these events, but also something more closed. It's closed. It's still open, but let's say more focused on our startups. And so today is another workshop, and I introduce you to Jørgen Beck Hansen, right? Yep. And enjoy the day. No, wait. I forgot something. We want to thank a lot Jasper, the president of our organization. And today it's his birthday, so happy birthday, Jasper. Where are you? No, it's not him. I was looking at the camera. But do you like to sing a song for him? No, he's not here. He's going to watch the YouTube video after all, you know? I'm just joking. So good luck, guys. Enjoy.
Okay, can you switch it over? Can everyone hear me? Do I need to hold it like this? Can you hear me now? Yeah? Matteo, can I borrow that one instead? Yeah. Is this better? Yep. Hey guys, for those who don't know me, I'm Jørgen Hansen. I'm an attorney from the law firm Lassen Ricard. We're what you call a mid-sized Danish law firm with approximately 17 lawyers in all. And we support the Stardust team. We give everyone who goes through their incubation program 15,000 of free legal work. I'll normally get you incorporated, set up with your shareholders agreement, and everything that you need to have a good basis legally to get your company running. So it's a great program. Okay, let's start. So negotiations for startups. That's going to be the theme. I'm going to go through some theory about it. Then I'm going to do an exercise with you guys where you figure out what type of negotiator am I, because there are different types of negotiators. Lawyers are not good negotiators in all cases, and you'll see why. And you are probably not good negotiators in all situations, and you'll see why. Then we'll probably end off, if I have enough time, just doing an exercise around this term sheet that I handed out. I hope everyone has at least one copy per team, else there's extra copies up here. And don't read the whole thing. I'll be dividing you into teams, and you'll be, some of you will be VCs, some of you will be entrepreneurs, and you'll be negotiating some of the elements in a term sheet, just to get the feeling of how that works, right? Okay, so what's the first thing you do when you need to negotiate something? Come on. Yeah? Make a plan. Yes, you prepare. Prepare yourself. this is probably the most important thing for any negotiation. It's your homework, right? You can't. You can show up and then just kind of dilly-dally around it. But if you prepare yourself, your results will improve drastically. And what do I mean when you prepare? Well, the first thing you want to understand is how is the other side thinking? What's happening on the other side? It's basically like a war. If you don't know what kind of tools and motives and strategic wishes the other side wants or has, then you won't be able to react to what they show up with, right? So you first of all, you need to know what they know, right? Do they know? You show up with a VC, you want to know, do they already know who I am? Have they heard about me out in town? Do I already have a good reputation with them? Do I have a bad reputation? Am I a blank slate to them? You want to know what does the VC want, or what do my my manufacturers want? What does this particular key employee that I want to hire, what does he want? Does he want a big paycheck? Does he want to have a lot of fun? Does he want to have a lot of spare time? And above all, you want to know why they would say yes or no to your offer, right? You also want to see or understand how they view themselves. Do they view themselves as someone who's friendly to entrepreneurs? Do they view themselves as someone who's a good person? Do they view themselves as someone who's shrewd in negotiations or who always tries to find a fair deal? Or how do they view themselves? Because when you understand how they view themselves, you can help them maintain their view of themselves and at the same time get what you want. Do you understand that? People hate it when the view of themselves is destroyed. Most people want to consider themselves confident and competent. If you destroy that view of themselves by showing them that their arguments, their understanding of what you do is wrong, and expose them as not knowing anything, then they'll be really hard to negotiate with because they will not like you. What are the alternatives? Alternatives are really important. What do they have to lose if they don't make the deal with you? Where is their pain level? If you can know this, then you can go almost directly to closing the deal, right? If you know what they're willing to close the deal at, what their pain level is, you go directly there. And what is their style of negotiation? We'll get back to this. But this will tell you what style should I adopt when talking to this person, and how should I put my arguments together. Who's the decision maker? You want to talk the language and you want to talk to the decision maker. You don't want to talk to the guy who really likes you but doesn't make the decisions. You want to talk to the guy who makes the decisions, right? And what do they consider legitimate arguments? Are you talking to an employee who's all about feelings and is very into corporate social responsibility and it has to be fair trade? Or are you talking to someone who's very logical, who wants to just earn money, and any arguments you present them has to end up with him making money somehow? That would also be numbers. Are you talking to someone who's abides by authorities? That would probably be a governmental authority, right? So, they normally, if someone's higher up in the hierarchy says this is what we do, then they will normally just fold on that one. Is time a factor? Is it a factor for you? Is it a factor for them? Will it speed up the process if you try to make time a factor? And how many of these can you influence? Can you help them get to know you better? Can you give them the right knowledge that will make it easier for you, the right knowledge, will make it easier for you to close the deal? Okay, and one of the most important things is, of course, don't do what I do, don't talk too much. Let them do most of the talking. You'll find that you get a lot of information if you just listen to what they're saying, instead of throwing your offer on the table, going back and forth really hard on it. Okay, then the other part of preparation, of course, is setting goals and expectations, right? You don't want to win a negotiation, you just want to arrive at a good result, right? You almost never win a negotiation. Not if you did your homework right and you know what you're negotiating for. So what do you really want? Do you want money, or do you want a good job in your company? You need to be specific. Do you want to be the CEO forever in this company, or do you just want to get out quickly after you get the money from the VC and all these things, right? So you need to know what you want. And you need to find a goal that's very optimistic, but that you can kind of justify, right? So the VC asks you, how much do you think your company is valued at? You wouldn't say $1 billion, you would say, well, my company can, within 5 years, probably generate an average of $1 billion in turnover per year. So I would say we're probably worth $1 billion based on that. Then he has to argue, why can you never generate that much money a year? And then you need to find your own pain level, right? Too often people go into negotiations and they kind of know, oh, it's going to hurt if we go here, and then I don't want to close. But then the negotiation drags on and on and on, and you really start to like the other person, and you really start to just want to close this thing. And then you go below the pain level, right? You know you didn't want to give up 51% of your company. You only want to give up 49, so you would still have control. But it drags on and on and on, and then you end up saying, okay, 51. And that's where you didn't want to end up. So you need to know, when do you walk away? And then you need to learn not to cross that line where you walk away. Then, of course, you need to set up alternatives if you can, because that's your best tool in negotiating. If you can find possible alternatives, or even start getting offers for alternatives, like a letter of intent to invest in you from some other investor, or if you have another employee you could use instead of that guy, or you have another manufacturer you could just use, then you can start playing them against each other, right? And that's really useful, because none of them wants to lose. Not to a competitor, anyway. And then, finally, if you can actually make the other side of the table a team player instead of someone you're negotiating against, if you can somehow align your interest, if you can say, well, listen here, if you just borrow me the money, then we can do so and so and so on. And we both end up getting much more out of it. For example, you have a manufacturer, right? The manufacturer has spare capacity, and you need a manufacturer. So you tell the manufacturer, if you give me the spare capacity now, and I generate a surplus, then I promise to use you in the future as well. You get exclusivity. And then you have alignment of interest. He has an interest in you getting your product on time, being able to sell, selling more and more because he has exclusivity. And then eventually he'll make a lot more money than he would by just charging you the normal prices. But then again, you can't switch manufacturer if he has exclusivity. Okay? You need, of course, to have some supporting data and arguments. So if you can go out and get some customer reports on what do they think about your product, if you can, then you can say, oh, the 1 billion I have in estimated turnover. Listen, I asked 1,000 people on the street. 999 persons said they would pay 1,000 crowns immediately if I could deliver the product to them in a week, right? And then, like, based on that, you can then show that your estimates are not completely off the wall. And something that's often neglected is you can also actually prepare a forum in which you discuss this, right? So how do you get yourself a sympathetic audience? Do you want to have this lifted up in the manufacturer's board of directors? Will they be more sympathetic to you than the CEO is? If you have a legal case, like a legal lawsuit, then you might actually consider getting a legal expert involved that will help you, right? Because if one side is arguing feelings and you know you have a stronger case legally, then you might say, why don't we bring in our attorneys? Because then you turn it into a legal argument instead of an argument about feelings. If you have a strong moral case, you can of course also go to the media. That's something I, as a lawyer, really hate when that happens, but because the media is really hard to control. But if you have a strong moral case, the media will generally side with you. You can also bring it to the employees somehow. You can negotiate via groups, the union method. If an angel investor is trying to run you over, you could go to the Stardust team, especially if he's a mentor or somehow involved with Stardust, and tell Stardust, listen, he's not being very nice. He's being very, very rude to us. And then Stardust will probably tell him, you can't be rude to our startups, right? And then he'll be afraid, oh, what if I can't get in with the next big hit at Stardust? So, and you can use other entrepreneurs' organizations in the same kind of fashion, right? Just need to be shrewd about it. You need to consider if the guy you're sending in to the negotiation table is the right guy. He might be the best guy normally at negotiating, but under the circumstances, he might not be. If you're sitting aside from a very technical guy, he will want to have someone that's just as nerdy and technical as himself showing up, right? Or if you're sitting across from a guy who's really competitive, then you might not want to send in the most competitive guy from your own side because you know they're just going to start fighting. And is it the right guy you're negotiating with? You might be the decision maker, but can you pull someone else in that'll somehow change his view on things? If you're discussing with the CEO, can you somehow get his CFO in, or even better, the CTO? Normally the CTO with tech startups will be much more into the technical side of it. If it's patents and it's something that's really technical, interesting, the CTO will normally be more interested in closing the deal than the CEO is, right? Because the CEO wants the business case, the CTO wants the tech. Okay, so then you have all the you're well prepared, and then you go into the room where you negotiate. And the first thing is body language. Because the guy will come out in the reception, or you'll come out in the reception, and if you're meeting for the first time, or meeting some of the members for the first time, body language is the first impression. Body language is 80% of a conversation. You've heard this before? So if you're standing like this, or if you're doing like this right when he comes out the door, you're already sending a really bad signal, right? So the general thing is you want to be a little bit open, you want to be smiling, and you want to be friendly looking. If he's in a suit, you probably want to be in business casual at least. If he shows up in sandals and a t-shirt, then you'll probably want to not be too overdressed, right? When you're sitting across from him, you want to lean in, you want to be attentive to what he's saying, or at least let him think you're attentive. You don't want to start out with this when he says, oh, I don't think your numbers are correct, and you don't go like this, you go, oh, interesting, why do you think my numbers are not correct? And you understand, you express understanding for what he's saying, and you get where he's coming from. You really you can kind of understand his situation. At least that's the impression you give him, right? Because then he will like you more. If you're nervous, which you'll often be, it's okay. You just put your hands under the table. I've done this a bunch of times. Just put your hands on the table, and don't reach for the water, because it will look really, really awful. Okay. Now this is probably one of the best little tricks I can give you, and there are some tricks to negotiate, right? Apart from being really, really well prepared, you should bring a gift. If you're drop bucket, you bring a drop bucket. They cost like 50 crowns, 100 crowns, something like that. Not a lot, right? And you give them that. You say, we have made this special version of our prototype for you, and we just thought, well, it's not being patented, or it already has patent pending, so we can give it to you, and we just thought this would be nice for you to have, maybe in the office, maybe give it to someone else. And then something in human nature, and it comes back from the apes or something, makes the other side think, oh, now I owe that person. He gets happy, but he also feels he needs to repay it somehow. And like, if you have a little story around it, like you come with a bottle of sand, right? And you say, I was in Jerusalem the other day, and I knew this meeting was coming up, and I figured I would just put some sand from where Jesus died into a nice bottle and then give it to you. And even though it sounds really weird, and the guy will probably take it because he wants to be nice, now he feels like he owes you Jesus sand, right? And this somehow is how it works. I've seen it a bunch of times. It's really, really weird. The other thing about reciprocity is if you disclose something, they'll normally disclose something. If you say, oh, I didn't think I wanted to disclose this because it's kind of a private thing and these are numbers, we didn't really want to give you this, but I think I trust you a lot, okay? And I know you're not going to give it to someone else, so here it is. And then he feels like he needs to give you something back in the same kind of, at the same kind of value, right? So if you blow it a little up and say this has a lot of value, he will give you something similar, normally, right? If you give concessions, he'll give concessions. If you show trust, they will normally show trust. If you are fair, they will normally be fair to you. If you're all the opposite things, they'll normally be all the opposite things towards you, and it'll go really badly. And you should all be aware they might have heard the same lecture as me, and they might know the trick, and they might actually use it against you. So, no rule without exceptions. So what should you do when you first meet the guy? You should start building trust. You should chatter about the weather, about how nice the room is, and not delve directly into the issues. Right? Unless you're all in a really big rush, then it's very nice to look at the guy, talk about your fishing trips, try to find something you have in common, joke a little about that, and have a general good mood at the meeting table before you jump into the issues. Especially, you should, of course, let them talk. And if you can, you should signal your leverage. If you have another VC interested in you, and you're trying to get money out of this VC, you shouldn't say, oh, I have another VC interested in me. You should say, it's funny you say that. I was just at a meeting with this guy at this office the other day, and he said the exact same. It's so weird. Should I open? This is like a normal question. Should I be the first one to say, oh, we want this much money at this much percentages, and we want to give you 2 seats on the board or something, right? Yes, you can open if they don't do it. If you have talked and talked and talked about the small talk, and no one's gotten into the issues, and you think, okay, we're half an hour in, and we only have another half an hour to get at this, then yes, feel free to say, okay, I think we should move on, and I'm willing to make the first proposal. And then you do it, but only if you're properly prepared, and you know the value, and you know your stuff, right? You know your arguments. If you're not prepared to negotiate, then you shouldn't be in the room, and if you are in the room, you should try to let them start at least. How high should you open? You should open at optimistic level where you can still give some kind of justification for your level so they don't think you're completely bonkers. Okay. Oop. At this point, we're going to do a little exercise. I'm just going to hand these out. So this is a very scientific method of finding out what kind of bargaining style you have. I have some pens as well. And I actually found this quite useful myself. I'll also do a little advertisement. I did not write this book. I get no money for it. It's a really good book. It's called Bargaining for Advantage. You'll find the exact same test in here, and he has you do it like in the first chapter. It's really useful. Boom, boom, boom. So I figure we'll use like 10 minutes on this or something. You guys, yeah, here you go. Lidt. I skal bare bladre om. You all just turn to the next page. And then at each of the questions, 1, 2, 3, you pick the one that you feel is what you normally would do in a negotiation, the one that appeals more to you. Don't try to game it, just be realistic about it. There's nothing that's better than the other. And like, I'm not going to call you up and ask, what are you? So this is only for yourself. have pens up at my table if you want them. Here you go. Ah. Here's a few pens. Ah. So now hopefully you know your bargaining style. I will admit if you're thinking of an example where you bargained with your girlfriend or boyfriend, contrary an example where you're down in the bank bargaining, sometimes it gives different results because those are different scenarios, right? But normally it's quite accurate actually. It turns out that I'm insanely competitive and my wife is kind of the opposite. I think that matches. So hopefully you figured out kind of what the situation you imagined when you answered your question gives you an idea how you will, what kind of style you apply when you negotiate in that scenario, right? And it will also give you an idea of are you the right person to handle this specific type of negotiation? Because the competitive person has certain things he's good at negotiating. The accommodating has something he's not good at negotiating, and so forth, right? They all have areas where they're good at negotiating, right? If you put a competitive person against a competitive person, they'll normally butt heads and nothing will get done. I tried this several times. It's what lawyers do. If you put an accommodating person and a competitive person together, the accommodating person will get run over, right? So we'll get into a little bit of that, because here's, so if, and this is not just me making up stuff, this is, he teaches at Wharton, this is all built on statistics and stuff and stuff and stuff, I hope. Well, he says it is, I haven't background checked it. Anyway, so if you're in a important relationship and the stakes are high, like when you're negotiating with your wife, or when you're negotiating with a VC, you'll normally want to be collaborative and compromising, because what you are is you're in it for the long run, right? And it's really important that you get this thing done. Should you be 100% compromising and there should be no competitiveness and no accommodation in there? Of course not. But like this is just where you want to be maybe more, put more emphasis. Show that you are a reasonable person that will compromise. When he gives you an answer that just doesn't fit you, you don't say, no, you have to take this. You say, can we collaborate on this? Can we figure out some third solution that might be better for both of us, right? If you're in a, if it's a important relationship, but the stakes are really low, if your employee, who's like a key employee, you cannot do this without him, shows up and says, I know we have this really important meeting with the VC tomorrow, and I'm the most collaborative guy here, but I really need to go on a fishing trip. Then you might be a little more accommodating, collaborative, and compromising. You might say, okay, go on the fishing trip, but next time you have to do it, right? If it's a one-off relationship, which it normally is for lawyers, like when we negotiate, unless we're negotiating for you with a VC, it's often one-off relationships. For example, when you're trying to do a settlement in a legal dispute, you're never going to talk to the guy again because he messed up somehow, and you just want as much money as possible, and the stakes are high. Then you're going to be competitive, but you're also going to be compromising because you do want the solution, the thing to happen. So lawyers will then sit there where the stakes are high, and the client is never going to talk to the guy again, and they'll argue, and they'll argue, and they'll argue, and argue, and in the end they'll say, okay, let's split the difference. If it's one-off relationship and the stakes are low, you're never going to talk to this person again. It doesn't really matter. Then, of course, accommodating. You want to avoid any conflicts because you don't want to get in a fight when it doesn't matter to you. You want to be compromising, right? So this you should think about when you have important negotiation. You should think about who should be the lead negotiator in this, because we're in this and this situation. Some good general tips. regardless of what kind of negotiator you are, you want to always be curious. You want to understand the other side. It shows them respect, but it also might give you something you can use. You want to leave feelings out of it. The worst thing that can happen is if you try to yourself, discussing something with people who have a lot of feelings is just very unproductive. You never get a great result. Don't use blame. It won't get you anywhere. Don't assume that they're good or that they're bad. Assume that they're rational people. Focus on solving their problems also, because it will get you a better result. If their problem is they cannot go back, the young VC cannot go back to the partner and say, oh, I didn't get any of the things we wanted. How can you give him something that he can kind of flash off to the senior partner at his VC firm, saying, oh, I got this great thing right here. Oh, yes, we had to get less shares than we wanted, but we did get this board seat, which was really important. Something that he can use so he won't look bad, because you'll never get the deal done if he has to go home and look bad. You might want to bring in the senior partner instead of the young VC, because the senior partner doesn't care if he looks bad. He just wants money, right? Talk is silver, silence gold. Make the other party feel good and competent. And if, it's a little trick actually, if you're kind of stuck, then ask them, if you were in my seat, how would you solve this issue, right? Because then you're forcing them to look at it from your perspective, and they might become accommodating instead of competitive. Ethics. I do think ethics is really important when negotiating. Don't cheat people. It'll spread like rumors throughout the environment, the whole business environment. It does that. Karma will get you, or the lawyers will get you, right? And that also means you yourself don't want to deal with liars. If someone's been stamped a liar, then my first impression would always be, do not deal with him. Because if he lied once, he'll probably do it again. Liars don't generally learn and become better people. If you want to deal with them, then check everything, of course, and bring in third parties so they're not just lying to you, but also lying to some third party, a lawyer or someone else, right? Don't accept threats. If it's really important that you deal with them, then take a cooling off period. Say, okay, I think this got a little overheated. We're both competitive people. Let's just take a break, come back in an hour, come back in a few days, and maybe we'll have a different view on things. Or bring in third parties again. They'll force the other guy to cool off a little bit, right? He may think that because you're young, he can tell you how it needs to be, but he cannot sit there if you have your mentor with you, your well-esteemed gray-haired mentor sitting next to you. He cannot sit there and say, this is how it's done, because if the mentor says, no, I've never seen that before, then. This one is really awful. If you've been negotiating for a very long time, and you're almost at the signing date, and then he shows up the other side and says, we need this and this and this, else we can't sign, then that's an abuse of overcommitment, because people will have spent so much time on it that they'll generally be willing to concede things. They'll say, okay, I'll give you an extra seat on the board because I just want this closed. But those kind of people are really unethical, in my view, and you need to not accommodate that. You say no, or you require a trade. You say, okay, if you want another seat on the board, I need more money, or you need less percentages, or we need to bring back in the lawyers again, and it will cost us both money, right? I had one where they did that with a startup from here, actually, several years ago. We had negotiated and negotiated. There'd been lawyers in. We'd sent back draft and draft and draft. And they were supposed to come with X amount of million crowns in investment. And then the lawyer, we have the final telephone meeting where we're supposed to discuss a non-competition clause. And then the lawyer, after we agreed on the non-competition clause, says, oh, and by the way, we only have half of the money, so we can only invest half of the money. But that's fair, we'll just get half of the shares. Okay, say I, but will you also get half of the board seats? Will you also get half of the veto rights? Will you also, and he said, no, 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 those don't have anything to do with it. And then we walked away, right, because that was just bullshit. Okay? Closing is the last bit you do in negotiations. That's where you actually not only sign, but also make the contract effective. So some people think when it's signed, it's effective. Not always. It's only effective when the contract says it's effective. So if you want to close quickly, sometimes you want to close quickly because you want the money now, or you don't want this VC thinking too much about it, or you don't want the employee looking at other options. Then you set deadlines. You can set arbitrary deadlines. You can say, oh, I'm going on vacation next week, and I really want to have this done before my vacation. You can also make final offers. You can say, oh, this is my final offer. Might not be your final offer, but it'll normally speed up things. You can just split the difference, of course. Say, okay, well, 50-50, each of us get a board seat. You can just do what they want. You can walk out, or you can try and say, we have alternatives. We'll go there if you don't close now. And the exact opposite. So closing slowly is actually often a good idea because it allows you to shop around if there's a no shop clause. So if this VC is showing a lot of interest in you and his offer is not like top notch, then him showing a lot of interest in you normally alerts other VCs. And they'll normally be like flies to a honeypot, right? Once you get one angel investor, once you get one VC involved, then others will normally kind of start circling you. So if you can also push it a little bit and maybe let the information seep that you're negotiating, then they might draw in alternatives that you can then leverage to get the right deal. Then you can ask for a lot of meetings, you can give slow concessions, you can make big moves on small issues and small moves on really big issues. And you can ask for second opinion and say, oh, I need to talk to my lawyer, he's on vacation this week, I think, so I can probably get back to you and so and so. Okay, so pre-contracts, term sheet, letter of intent, NDA, does everyone know what that is? Okay, so these will not get you the money, they'll get you as closer to the money. The final contract, all agreements are binding, so if you sit there in the meeting room and say, okay, we have an agreement, then you might actually have a binding agreement if they can prove you did that. Witnesses, if they taped the thing, like only lawyers are not allowed to tape negotiations. So if I had a client, he showed up at my office and said, I need to fire this guy, here's my proof, and then he put his iPhone down and pressed play, and he'd recorded the whole thing while having it in his pocket. That's proof. You can use that in a lawsuit. I couldn't do that because lawyers, because of ethical reasons, aren't allowed to do that, but you can do that. It'd probably come back and bite you if you did that because it would spread around that that's the type of person you are. You'll try and get people to say we have an agreement and then use it against them even though it's clear that there might not have been agreement or they would have expressed it otherwise. Written agreements are of course better, easier to prove. Now conditions precedent is a fancy word. It just means this deal is not final until you meet these conditions. It will normally be until we have proof that all the IPR is in the company that we're investing in, until we have a binding shareholders agreement with you guys, we're not paying the money, something like that. Okay, negotiating a VC investment, yay. That's hopefully what a lot of you want. I don't know if you all need the money or want the money, but yeah. So what you should do preparation, of course. This is where we get into a little thing. How can you improve your position? All the stuff we talked about. How would you prepare for something like that? Well, you need to have some numbers to prove how much value your company is worth. You need to show that you have great great potential to grow and such. You need to find other VCs who are interested in you. You should give them something, maybe a T-shirt with your logo on, something, or you should give them trust, so they will give you trust, or you should give them some information, so they will give you information, right? You bring in experienced advisors. Mostly with VCs, you want to not bring in the lawyers at the first meeting. It's seen kind of as a bad thing. But mentors, you might want to bring. You're young, you want a mentor there. Your mentor thinks it's fun. And he can sit there and say, I've never seen that before. What negotiation style? Well, we talked about that. How do you close? You get your term sheet, which says how much they'll invest at how many percentages, and you all have a term sheet. You get your non-disclosure agreement if they want to check your patents and the more substantial business secrets. And then you get your investment agreement and you close that thing, right? So for the last exercise, if I have the time, do I have the time? Do I have like a half an hour or something? How many startup teams do we have here? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6? Okay, you guys are VCs, and since you already got some money, you're a VC, and that's 2 VCs. We need another VC. Who wants to be the last VC? You'll be a VC? Okay, so you guys have money that you want to invest, and you guys all have your own startups, the ones you are sitting in now. So you'll all get a little thingamading here. This is the term sheet goals for entrepreneurs. You're an entrepreneur. Ow. Vi får en ekstra, så. Sådan der. Jeg får elektrisk. Jeg får en. It's a broad statement of what your goals are. What you also have is a term sheet that the Danish Venture Capital Association has on their website as the standard that all VCs should use because it's a good standard. Now that's up for debate. But you can all assume that that's the kind of term sheet you would get, even in Denmark, for big investment. We're talking 2-digit millions, right? So what we should all do is find, what all the startups should do is find a VC, do a 2-minute pitch of what you do, only 2 minutes, no more. The VC doesn't want to listen to any more than that. And then you need to negotiate. And I just don't want you to negotiate this whole thing, right? That wouldn't make sense. But I want you to negotiate number 1, that's A1, A2, and the subscription price in A4. Those all tie together. It's basically how many percentages do you get at what price? And how much money do you get? Right? All startups, you know how much money you need, and you know how many percentages, hopefully, you're willing to give. Then you should also negotiate A5, which is milestones. When do we get the money and at what terms? If you have time, if you're quick negotiators, you can do B1, how can I use the money? And you can do B9, how many board seats do I need to give away or keep? Who has control of the board, basically? Who can hire or fire the management? And if you're really quick, you can do C4, exclusivity. Can I only negotiate with this VC? Now you have your overall goals in your handout, and it's up to the entrepreneurs to approach the VC. And is everyone with me? Yes, yes. Each team finds a team of VCs, or group of VC, right? Can the VCs put up their hand? VC over there, VC there, and VC up in the chair. Now, the entrepreneurs approach the VC, but entrepreneurs, you have half an hour from now, and you decide how much time do I want to spend on preparation, how much time do I want to spend on negotiation. And it's now 18:35, so it'll be 19:05 when we stop. It's just to get the experience, right? Okay, how many closed? You guys closed. You guys didn't close. You guys were the first to go over and start negotiating. Did you feel prepared enough? No? Did they ask some relevant questions?
Yeah, they did. And they asked.
Did you have the answers?
No, we didn't. Because we decided to go with our new concept for the business, and we are actually not in a place where we can do these negotiations yet. So we made some guesses based on, yeah, that wasn't really enough for them.
And did you bring them over a beer?
No, we didn't.
Would that have been a smart thing to do? Did you flash any alternatives for investments? Did you say, oh, we're already talking to a VC, but since we have to do this thing, no? What about you guys? Did you bring over a beer or something? No? Jesus hand? You brought over some did you get the Jesus hand?
Yeah, figuratively.
Okay. And you guys, which one was negotiating from you, of you guys? You negotiating? Are you competitive or what are you? You're compromising. And let me ask you, Heida, are you competitive?
I was a bit competitive now.
What?
Yeah, I was.
You were competitive.
Yeah.
So you had a competitive person dealing with a compromising person. Did you feel like you were getting run over a little bit?
We had to find
It's okay because competitive persons are supposed to deal with compromising persons, but also collaborative persons. So there's nothing wrong in it. It's actually probably a good fit, and that's probably why you closed. Yeah?
This gift you fellows bring, wouldn't that be seen as...
It could also be trust, you can also say.
Yeah, okay.
It doesn't have to be a thing. It's just like, it's a gimmicky thing, right? It's quite gimmicky.
Bribe. Could be seen as bribe.
Well, no, because it's a VC, it's not a public authority. And it's not like a big value. You're not giving him a Rolex watch. You're giving him a beer. And like, you don't do it always. I don't do it most of the time, right? We have pens and stuff at work we can hand out. I doubt any of you got pens when you met with me. I don't do it even with high-profile clients because what I do is the trust thing instead, right? I show trust in them and they show trust in me and stuff like that, right? That's also why we don't have any agreements that you will use me in the future once your 15,000 is spent, because I show trust and I hope trust is repaid somehow, right? Which one of you, is any of you competitive?
I don't think so.
Okay. What type of person were you negotiating with? Why do you think you didn't close?
Because we didn't have the they were really detailed, really going into the numbers in it. What can you make in 1 year?
Okay.
In 2 years.
So it was the preparedness that really got you.
Yeah.
Okay. Did you try to align their interests somehow? Did you say, wait, we're both from DTU, we're both nice guys, we want to close the deal so that we don't lose to the other guys over here who are probably going to close, and we don't want to be singled out as the only guys who did not close because it will be a failure on both our sides, right? You didn't try to be a little...
We try to appeal in that kind of way, this is kind of a setup of the case, but they were taking it way too serious, so they was
Way too serious.
real and
Okay. Do you think you came across as a little unserious, maybe?
yeah.
Okay. Did everyone think that was a useful exercise? Like, is this something I should repeat? Yeah. Do- All right. Well, I just assumed that everyone had their business plans in order since you handed in a business plan when you applied to Stardust. Okay. Well, that's me, and Bjarke is taking over from here, I think. I don't think I have anything. No questions. Does anyone have questions? Is there any things? Okay, cool. I only have the ones I dealt out, but I sent like a PDF copy to Adam, so he can give you an extra. He can also give you like the actual assignment, which is it has like a whole how do you do this. I didn't write it myself. This is all like there's a how do you do this.
Thanks a lot, Jan.
Thank you. Thank you.
Is going to make a presentation about consumers and markets. And that's all.
Yeah. The stage, yeah. Can everybody hear me? Great. I'm very proud to be here. Normally I do presentation in Danish, so if you have any questions because you don't Makes sense? Yeah. Should I start over or? No, but if you don't understand me or have any questions during the presentation, just ask me. That's no problem. But usually I do presentations for marketeers and sales directors and people who like to hear a lot of buzzwords because then they think that they are on the right path because now, we do all these kind of great things and social media strategy and they don't know anything about it. But yeah, so I have decided to keep it very short and to the point, to which I think is the most important things. And normally I'm also going to business schools and so on, and all the books out there is about making more money and so on. And out here in this bookstore, it's about building robots and kind of stuff like that. I think that's very cool. But I'll make a short introduction about me, who I am. Then about positioning focus of your business. And then we have to discuss in groups about your company's position, where you're going to be. And it makes a lot more sense when I'm going through this presentation. Then we have to catch up a bit if you're on the right track and so on. And then you have to discuss it with other people that are not in your company, to explain them if they understand your purpose and your position. And then we have a short question session. But Adam told me that it should be a TED Talk, and he gave me 1.5 hours, but normally a TED Talk is 18 minutes, so it will be roughly around 15 minutes I'll do my presentation in. So about marketing, no, I'll have to go to this. Yes, first of all, at the moment right now, I'm building a booking platform called Ticket to Travel, where you can book flights and so on. But I have normally worked in international companies, consulting companies, and in large retailers making commercial videos. Maybe some of you know Fleckor and some of those commercial, maybe not. And besides that, I'm helping small and medium-sized business with marketing strategy and business development. I just started a company, wine importing company, with André Bryde, who also been here, and we bought 200 bottles of great wine that we have to pour out in the sink because they were bad. They were too old. It was really a great bargain, but yeah, it turned out to be a very bad investment.
And then I also starting an investment company with 2 other guys where we invest in startups. So when an engineer is doing marketing, that's no offense, but that can be a bit boring. And I had to find a good example of that. It took me a while because that's not very often you see engineers doing marketing. But I think BMW made that when they want to launch their new super vehicles in the US. And this is their commercial. It's also approximately 40 years old, but they were very much focusing on features and functions. And of course, their exclusive Dreikurkel-Windbraumraum, which is a triple hemispheric combustion changer, which were absolutely fantastic from an engineerical point of view. But for the rich American guy, it was just, I don't know what that means, but it's just a car. A lot have happened since then. It was also a very big failure in the US market. In Germany, it was fantastic commercial. They made a different approach later on. They say, that's why we don't have front-wheel drives. And it's more about what association can we make of our product. It's because normally in the nature it's a back-wheel drive, like the BMWs. And they're trying to make some association with great, or something that we can relate to. They also made a commercial for used cars, which were like this, and it was also very popular. Yeah, you cannot always afford the new BMW, but it's okay if you have the second one or the third one. But yeah, I think I'm getting older because do any one of you know her? Who have painted this? Yeah, for approximately 350 years ago. And I think paintings are very beautiful and so on. But the problem is that we are going into a time where things are happening much more fast, and I don't think I always can keep up with it. Because if we look at Vermeer today, it will probably look like something like this. Which I think is horrible and is something that we should all stop doing, selfies and so on. But yeah, I would talk to you about something called the Quantric model. That's Michael Sheridan, who lives in Denmark, have his company called Quantric. He have made this very, very simple model, but very useful model. He said that the rational, that's the operational evidence that we can show that we have the best engines, we have this, this, and this. And that's the BMW, that's the ultimate driving machines, of course. The emotional, that's the pictures and so on. And we will only discuss these two and not the internal one, which is the culture within the company, because that's mainly for larger corporations. But these two elements is so important when talking about marketing strategies. The external one is what the output of these tools are. So, to get it a bit more into depth, we have our positioning strategy, and it seems like overwhelming at first, but it makes sense that we have a position that guides us throughout the value chain when we do marketing, what people knows from us. Then we have internally our values, our performance reviews, all what we do to make sure that we are aligned together. And up here we have our logos and so on. And I will do just a short case from Volvo. Volvo is known for safety. Safety because they make cars, and compared to BMW, that's not safety, that's the driving experience. Volvo is more about safety. So Volvo said in 1939 that safety is and must be the basic principle in all design works. That's something that defines their company. And to make a vision that is about this is that in 2020 no one should be killed or injured in a Volvo car. That's why all the products they develop is focusing on that statement, and that's about safety. Then we have the operational evidence. That's to show to their investors, that's to show to their partners, their customers, and so on, that we are the first with all these kind of things. All thing that has to is about safety is Volvo the first to develop. And again, to see the emotional part of it, that's the logo designs. That's pretty simple. That maybe a bit boring as well, but you know when it's a Volvo car. Then they make campaigns that involves all of these, and we design every Volvo to look like this and so on. And it's just to show that it all makes sense in this way. Yeah, and that's the Volvo car. So to make sure that you don't develop products and ideas and services to the market that is in different directions, because I have started some companies, and even though we were only 2 and sometimes 3 partners in the companies, we thought, oh, this is a great idea, and I am thinking about one part, and the other is thinking about another part, and we think we are going in the same direction, but again, we are developing things to the market that isn't aligned with our company and what we will be known for. So what Volvo did is that they have a research and development department, and the market is out here. And what they did is, if they didn't have any guidelines, they will develop a lot of ideas to the market that wasn't aligned with their overall purpose. And the overall purpose is safety. So instead, if you say that everything that we develop to the market is about safety, and again, that's for you as well. I think many of you have great product, great ideas, and so on, but what do you want to be known for in the market? And that's something that is very difficult to define, and I have been sitting in this ticket to travel, and we want to be known for, we don't know. We have been working on that for a year, but we sell cheap flight tickets, and it's difficult to just say that we want to be known for the greatest customer experience or whatever, because we are not aligned in the management group, and that's why it's so important to be aligned both for your own sake and for your partner's sake, that people know that if we go to a company to do business with, that we know that Volvo is known for safety or what you are known for. This is also why Volvo's position enables them to build a better value chain, because they made, for example, these 4. That's the latest one. They made radar, sonars, materials, and ergonomics to avoid crash avoidance, crash detection, passenger protection, and child protection. But they will also develop other ideas that are unexpected, of course. And this means that often they are first to the market with their ideas, because their overall guidelines is focused around safety. And what I like you to do is in groups is to clarify your company's purpose and your position, because I think I have been working with you, Green Creative, and you're 3 brilliant minds. You have to give them some self-confidence. But with 3 different ideas, then they are aligned, then they are torn apart, and then aligned again. And it's important to make sure that when we are going into this, because you have all the legal stuff that if we do this, this, and this, then it's a exit and so on. So when all of this is made, it's more easy to say, okay, this is this direction we are going to. And this positioning about your company also makes it much more easy to make products to the market and become the thought leadership in your market. And it's very important to a startup because that also enables you to be interviewed by the media and be the first one to say, this is what's happening right now in 3D printing. This is what everybody is talking about, and then you will be the go-to guys. So now you have to do this little exercise, and normally I'll just say, oh, that's 15 minutes or 30 minutes, but after being working with this for 1 year in my company, which I thought was very easy, hopefully, but when there are other involved and you can't decide everything yourself, even though you're competitive, then you have to come together and say, okay, this is our direction. So do anyone understand the exercise?
I understand the exercise.
What?
What? I understand the exercise. Yes.
Cool.
Wasn't that the question?
Yeah, exactly. So knock yourself out, and I'll just go around in the groups and learn more about you.